Good afternoon. At this time, I would like to ask our IT professionals to start the audio tape recordings of the regular meeting and to admit any members of the public who have chosen to listen to this meeting online. And please confirm that for us.
Recording
Please.
in progress.
Thank you. My name is Dwayne Vaughn, and I am General Counsel and Assistant Secretary of the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, also known as Atlanta Housing. Before the regular meeting is called to order, please consider the following announcements. We welcome the members of the public who have joined us in person and in the Pecan Room of the Atlanta Housing headquarters for this regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners. We also welcome the members of the public who have joined this meeting via audio conference. There is also an option to view the meeting live streamed. Members of the public can find the link in the notices section on the Atlanta Housing website. The live streaming link is also contained on the Atlanta Housing Board docs. Please be advised that any members of the public who wish to address the board during the time for public comment period must have signed up on the public speaker sign-up sheet at the front door of the Pecan Room prior to the time that the meeting is called to order, or have sent in a comment by the time set in the notice for the meeting. A link to the meeting agenda, board resolutions, and presentation materials are available for review by the public by accessing the link on the Atlanta Housing website at www.atlantahousing.org/notices. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Larry Stewart, and I serve as the Chair of the Board of Commissioners. I am calling this regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, to order. Today is Wednesday, June 28th, 2023, and the time is 2:06. Will General Counsel take the roll to determine a quorum for the meeting?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
Commissioner Kirsch.
Here.
Commissioner Alvarado.
Here.
Commissioner Elliott. Commissioner Faruqi.
Here.
Commissioner Harris.
Here.
Commissioner Hooker. Commissioner Hooker. Mr. Chair, there is a quorum.
All right. The agenda has been presented to the board for review and comment. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
All right, so moved by Commissioner Elliott and seconded by Commissioner Kirsch. Is there any discussion? Hearing no further discussion, I will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried.
The minutes of the regular Board of Commissioners meeting held on May 24, 2023 are before the board for review and comment. Are there any proposed corrections to the minutes of this meeting?
All right, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 24, 2023?
So moved.
All right, may I have a second? All right, so moved by Commissioner Faruqi and seconded by Commissioner Elliott. Is there any discussion related to the motion to approve the minutes of the May 24th, 2023 meeting? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? All right, the motion is carried. We're now into our public comment section. So members of the public who wish to address the board signed up on the public speaker sign-up sheet as they entered the meeting. Each speaker who has signed up will be called to the podium and will have 3 minutes to address the board. After those members of the public who are here to speak finish, we will read any questions received in advance. Have any members of the public signed up to speak?
Mr. Chair, no members of the public have signed up to speak, nor did we receive any comments prior to the meeting.
All right, well, sounds like that means we have ended our public comment portion of the meeting, and we will get to our resolutions. So at the Board of Commissioners September 22nd, 2021 meeting, the board approved a consent agenda protocol. There are 3 resolutions appearing below that received unanimous votes of approval at the Board of Commissioners Real Estate Committee or Audit Finance Committee meetings held on June 21st and June 26, 2023, respectively. The collective group of resolutions on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion to adopt all resolutions and the affirmative majority vote of the Board of Commissioners. If discussion on any resolution or resolutions is desired by a commissioner, the commissioner must make that desire known to the chair, I think. Yes, board chair immediately following the reading of the consent agenda items, and the resolutions will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Or at the discretion of the board chair, a discussion may occur prior to the vote on the consent agenda resolutions. Moreover, if a commissioner simply wants his or her vote to be specifically recorded on any particular item, separate votes may be taken on the resolutions. Will General Counsel identify the 3 resolutions on the consent agenda for the record?
Thank you. Resolution number 23-29, the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia seeks authorization to extend the maturity date of the AH loans and the term of the ground lease in support of the refinance of Columbia Park City Residences Rental Assistance Demonstration Development. Resolution number 23-30, the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia seeks authorization to increase the HomeFlex unit count for Lily R. Campbell House. Resolution number 23-32. The Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia seeks authorization to enter into a contract with Martin Luther King Sr. Community Resources Collaborative for the provision of resident education and training.
All right. May I have a motion to consider, adopt, and approve the consent agenda containing resolutions 2329, 2330, and 2332?
So moved.
All right. So moved by Commissioner Alvarado and seconded by Commissioner Elliott. Is there any discussion related to the consent agenda resolutions? All right. Hearing no further discussion, I will call for the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried.
Before you is a copy of Resolution Number 23-31, where the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia seeks authorization of deal terms and to provide the following commitments in connection with the development of Herndon Square Phase 3 in support of a 4% low-income housing tax credit application. 1, a loan commitment. 2, a HomeFlex assistance commitment. And 3, an option to ground lease.
May I have a motion to consider Resolution 2331?
So moved.
All right. May I have a second? All right. So moved by Commissioner Kirsch and seconded by Commissioner Faruqi. And so now we will have a presentation by Mike Wilson.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Wilson. I'm Senior Vice President of Transactions Management and Capital Markets. I want to talk a little bit about Herndon 3 today. As Dwayne mentioned, this resolution involves providing support for a tax credit application developers are planning to submit. And so there's several authorizations, providing commitment for a HomeFlex project-based voucher agreement with initial term of 15 years for 81 units. Second, providing an option for ground lease of up to 75 years at a nominal rate of $10 per year. Providing a loan commitment of $15,890,000 at 1.32% interest for 43 years. Providing a pre-development loan of $1,502,025 and to submit a mixed finance development proposal to HUD. Next slide, please. A little bit of background on Herndon. So this involves a revitalization of the former Herndon home site, which is located at 510 Cameron Alexander Boulevard, Northwest Atlanta. Excuse me. We're looking to do a multi-phase mixed-use mixed-income development that will consist of 718 total units. Back in 2016, the board selected Herndon Homes Developer, LLC, and Oakwood Development Group, LLC, to be the development partners. We completed the first phase of Herndon, which is Herndon Senior, 97-unit senior building, back in 2021. The second phase is about to be awarded 4% tax credits and plans to close in September. And we'll be back to talk a little bit about that probably next month. Next slide, please. So the third rental phase will be on approximately 1.76 acre site. It's going to be 180 units, including 81 units or 45% which include home flex and low-income housing tax credits, 72 units, or 40% with tax credits only, and 27 market rate units, and that's 50%. So this property is going to use what's known as an income averaging strategy, and that's sort of a new thing in the tax credit world. Normally tax credits are targeted people at 60% AMI or less. So if you do a range of units that average out to 60%, you get the same effect. That's now allowed. So they're going to range from 30% AMI to 80% AMI. And the reason why that's important, tax credit investors in today's world don't like to see more than 20% market rate units in mixed income communities because of compliance and market risk. So having the income averaging still gives you a mix of different income types in the community. Next slide, please. So here's a little bit about the mix. You can see they're going to be 41 home flex tax credit units at 30% AMI, 40 at 60% AMI, 26 tax credit only units at 60% AMI, 46 tax credit only units at 80% AMI, and then the 27 market rate units for a total of 180. Next slide, please. So here's a little bit, here's a summary of the sources and uses. You can see they're looking at a private first mortgage of $14.2 million, our AHA loan, or AH loan of $15.9 million, federal tax credit equity of just under $47 million. They're looking at a deferred developer fee right now of $1.4 million, although they hope they'll be able to do a little better than that. So that as they tighten their construction costs, total sources would be $78.4 million. And you can see the mix of uses on the right side. The key thing I point out is the construction cost, which is $58 million, and a $3.5 million developer fee for a total of $78.4. Next slide, please. So one thing that's a little bit different about this deal, so we will have a very significant interest in the general partner, almost 50%. And because we have such a substantial interest, the tax credit syndicators asked that we participate in the general partnership using a for-profit affiliate than the normal nonprofit affiliate that we use, Atlanta Housing, or Atlanta Affordable Housing for the Future, what we like to call AFI. And the reason why they want that, having the for-profit affiliate means they can use an accelerated depreciation schedule, which will increase the value to the people who actually buy the tax credits, and that allows for higher tax credit pricing. And that's very important in today's world. Next slide, please. So additional benefits to Atlanta Housing. We're going to get our interest and payments under the loan, but we're also going to receive 35% of the developer fee as a co-developer, 50% of net cash flow distributed to the general partner, a 1% origination fee of our loan. We get $2,500 per month as our construction inspection fee, and then a co-management fee of 1% annually, 1% of effective gross income. Next slide, please. So they're also asking for a pre-development loan to help get to the actual financial closing. So they're requesting $1.5 million. Now, the way our pre-development loans work, we'll pay 75% of eligible uses. And of course, that has to be subject to HUD approval. We don't charge interest on our loans, but we charge a $10,000 underwriting fee. Next slide, please. Here's a summary, or actually all the line items of the pre-development budget that they're requesting, showing it's $2 million total. We'd fund $1.5 million, and the developer would fund $500,000 of that. They're 25%. Next slide, please. So we're recommending approval of the business terms to support their tax credit application and the several commitments. A loan commitment of $15.9 million at 1.32% interest for a total of 43 years. A commitment for home flex rental assistance for 81 units for 15 years. An option for a ground lease at our nominal $10 per year rate for a term not to exceed 75 years. And we also want to have authorization to submit a mixed finance development proposal to HUD to prepare for closing. Next slide. So with that, I'm going to pause and see if there are any questions or comments that anyone would like to make. I think you need to use it.
Got it. Curious, I've been here, I might not look it, but I've been here long enough where I knew of the past property that was on that site. And I'm curious how many individuals who resided in the previous property would get an opportunity to live in this new space that's being developed. I'm just curious because people have close connection with community and whether or not we are working towards trying to ensure that people who are from community are able to stay in community when new developments occur.
So I would say the easy answer to that is as many as possible that would actually like to return and meet the requirements of the new property. So we'd like to see a lot of them be able to return.
I'm curious about any exposure that we have in this deal to changes in inflation, interest rates. I mean, interest rates are not coming down. What happens when the deal becomes, well, not the deal, but the financing becomes kind of at risk because of exposure to that on the owner and developer side? Just help me understand how our stake in that is impacted.
That's something we struggle with every day on really the transactions we're looking at, and that's just the real estate business now. So what the developers tried to do is be conservative in estimating these are what our construction costs are going to be. These are what the interest rates will likely be by the time we close. But that's changed very rapidly in recent years. So we have to work hand in hand with them to help resolve the different gaps that might create. So ideally, we don't have to provide any more funding, but if it comes to it, we may have to do that.
Thank you.
Can you remind me the terms of the ground lease, the 75 years at $10 per year?
Right.
Any other requirements? Just looking at the HomeFlex vouchers have a 15-year commitment. I know we
Yes.
often revisit those, but
Right.
what affordability requirements are tied to the 75-year lease beyond the HomeFlex, or how is that, how is that baked into the ground lease agreement, if at all?
So they're required to maintain the mix of affordable units that we talked about during that 15 years and beyond that 15 years for the actual term of the ground lease.
For the term of the ground lease?
That's correct.
That's super helpful. And then my only other comment for my fellow board members is that this did come before Real Estate Committee. We had a lot of questions that I think all of them were answered in committee, but given how many aspects there were to this this resolution, we didn't want to place it on the consent agenda, not for any concern, but simply because we wanted the full board to have visibility on, all of the different layers of the resolution specifically. So just wanted to add that context for those who weren't at committee.
Are there any other questions?
All right. Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried.
Commissioners, before you is a copy of Resolution Number 23-33, where the Housing Authority seeks authorization to approve its comprehensive budget for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2024, and other related matters.
All right, may I have a motion to consider Resolution 2333?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second?
So moved by Commissioner Faruqi and seconded by Commissioner Kirsch. And so Ken, take it away.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am Ken Sadekis, the Chief Financial Officer for the Atlanta Housing. I appreciate this chance to meet with you again because the majority of what I'm going to cover is not necessarily new to you. We presented this in small groups of no more than 3, and we also presented it to the Audit Committee earlier this week. We've also given you the budget book. You have an extra copy in front of you, which discusses the budget in great detail. I am, however, coming to you today to ask that you approve this resolution and the FY24 budget. These are the topics we're going to discuss today. We'll briefly touch on the status of the FY23 budget as of April. Then we'll focus on various aspects of the FY24 budget. Feel free to ask questions at any time. Next slide. FY24 ended having expended 83% of our fiscal year-to-date budget, and with slightly more than $126 million more to spend in the last quarter. Now, at this time, we estimate that through savings and timing issues with development schedules and other schedules, FY23 is going to end with over $60 million in funds that will become available for use in FY24. The FY24 budget includes $40 million of the revitalization activities, which were moved from FY23 to 24, but some expenditures that we still plan on occurring in FY23 will now be occurring in 24. We have not changed the budget to accommodate these changes, and instead we rely on the language that's in the resolution that allows the CEO and the CFO to make reallocations of the budget as long as AH remains within the board-approved 24 budget usage schedule. And we'll come back to you at mid-year if, in fact, we need additional funding. Okay. Sorry. Okay, the primary drivers of the variance between budget and actuals as of April 30th are the following. The closing of Ashley 2 at Scholars Landing closed yesterday. Round of applause. Okay. I don't say thank you. I applaud the folks back here who did all the hard work. But anyway, that was supposed to close months earlier, and we were supposed to have expenses. And so because we saw that it was not closing as soon as we expected, we moved $18 million into the FY24 budget for Ashley 2 at Scholars Landing. Changes in closing dates also occurred for other projects for various reasons, to include Englewood, Heritage Village at West End, Madison Reynoldstown, Stonehogan Flats and Villas, Herndon Homes, and other developments, and these are also included in the FY24 budget. Supply chain and other issues have caused a large number of modernization capital expenditures at AH Properties to be included in the FY24 budget instead of occurring in 23. The tight labor market has resulted in greater than expected vacancies at AH headquarters, producing salary savings. And deferring and implementing several projects, such as the landlord portal, have created more. And so these funds are available to be used in 24. The amount available for 24 from 23 savings would have been greater, but you notice if you look at the uses, we have one line where we've actually, the uses, first one, housing assistance and operating subsidy payments, is at 104%. That's because the inflation during FY23 was higher than we expected a year ago when we forecasted the 23 budget. And so that is exceeding the budget, and so it's drawing down the possible savings we would have. But we've planned ahead for FY24, and we've included a 10% increase in the housing choice HAP payments that we believe will get us through FY24 without exceeding our budget. Any questions on this slide? Okay, next slide, please. This is an infographic that highlights some of the ways that our budget includes programs that are focused on people and not just housing. Okay? I'd like to point out up front that HUD expects us to house people, and if they get anything else out of it, it's just gravy. They give us $25 per door in our public housing operating subsidy for resident associations, and that's all they give us that's directed toward the residents. If it was not for our MTW authorizations, we would not be able to do any of these or the other things that affect the people other than putting a roof over their head. Looking at the chart, it's intended to show, the numbers on this slide are not exhaustive. They are intended only as highlights. For example, the budget also allocates $3.6 million for the development department, including 29 employees. These employees are responsible for providing services to all age participants, and they plan to directly support at least 18,000 individuals in 2024. The numbers on the chart are also not independent, and I'll explain that as I go through this. Starting at 12 o'clock on the chart, total assistance and housing units funded. The budget includes $253 million in total assistance for housing our participants. Okay? That's 21,477 that we're planning to house using this budget. This includes our tenant-based vouchers, home flex, AH home properties, our mixed communities, as well as our down payment assistance. All of those provide roof over people's heads. Okay? Okay. These funds are directly lower the cost of living for families. 95% are extremely or very low income. The 24 budget allocates $27.3 million more for assistance than the FY23 budget. And it's not all because we're investing in more people, as you'll see later on, but it's the cost of housing people has gone up. Moving to the right, the Good Neighbor Program, which you approved in the consent agenda, at least the contract for that, $150,000 has been allocated for that in FY24. This program, as you're probably aware, provides the guidance and training necessary for folks who have not lived on their own in the economy before they enter into one of our programs. And we developed this many years ago because of complaints that we were moving people into neighborhoods that were not ready to reside there. Moving down to the long box there, the at-risk families. This set of boxes shows the totals for 3 programs that help at-risk and formerly homeless families. Our Haven special purpose vouchers, our Haven Home Flex, and Home Again. The $30.5 million is the sum of these programs. And the first 2 are tenant-based vouchers that have been designated to help those who are at risk of homelessness. And the Home Again is a program that's designed to support those folks who are not part of our programs, but have need for a short-term assistance in order to keep their housing. They come to us for 1 month's rental payment. They come to us to help make their utility bills and things like that. And so $1.1 million is allocated for that. And the budget is actually double for Home Again this coming year. Okay. Okay. Let's see. These, I just to alert you, the asterisks there mean that those all are added into the 253. So we don't want to double count. You don't add, it's not cumulative. Okay. Okay, contracts eligible for DBE and resident participation box. The lower right, $4.9 million. We have $4.9 million of contracts in our budget. And these are all operating contracts that could and should be open to DBE and Section 9 and other resident participation. And so I wanted to point that out. We also have additional money in our real estate development activities that is not included in this because that is addressed when we come to you with our proposals for the real estate deals. Okay, the home ownership box. This is the amount allocated toward creating home ownership and building intergenerational wealth through down payment assistance awards in FY24. Okay. We expect we're $5.2 million, which is a slight increase, $200,000, and 244 families is what we're targeting to provide mortgage assistance that allows them to buy a house and become a homeowner for the first time. Opportunities to thrive, the left-hand side. We've got a total of only 67,000 increase, but these are vibrant programs that we've got. $1.6 million with money going to youth programs. And the youth programs include, as you can see, and I can read, after school, summer and holiday camps, Atlanta Achievers Program, and internships. Our workforce readiness activities include job training and employment placement, retention support, job fairs and workshops that help people get jobs. And our senior activities include senior center activities such as adult day programs, delivery of meals, case management, in-home services, our Fulton County Government Senior Services, and the ARC Mental Behavioral Health Services and Benefits programs. Okay. So we wanted to put people first. Any questions on this infographic? Sir.
Not a question, but more appreciation. I wanted to thank you, and I wanted to thank COO Lee for creating space for us to have meaningful dialogue about how we tell our story as an authority. And I think this is such an important slide. And I would be remiss if I didn't just amplify the importance of the slide, where it's not about brick and mortar, it's not about verticals, it's about people, it's about community. And thinking about the different ways, the innovative approaches that Atlanta Housing is looking to invest in people, ensure that people are made whole and be able to enjoy the communities in which they live and be able to realize their dreams. I'm really appreciative of this, and I look forward to just being more active and ensuring that we go from what on the slide and ensuring that people are really able to fully benefit from all that you are offering and will offer moving forward as you continue putting people first. So I just wanted to thank you and appreciate the opportunity to have voice in this conversation and be a part of the implementation and also speaking out about it to the communities overall.
It takes a village. Okay. No,
You guys
we're all
don't clap
dedicated to
after I
that.
say something. I feel a little offended. All right. Joe, no more mics for Joe. So we spoke about, I know, thank you. I appreciate that. You felt my pain. And we spoke about some of this on Monday, so I won't reiterate what we said there, but I did want to maybe highlight one piece. So I think, thank you for making some of the breakouts so that we could see where the dollars were included in the 253.
Right.
So if I want to make sure I'm making the right assessment here, which is if I add up the things that are not starred and then looked at the total allocation relative to just putting people first, I came up to like approximately $260 million. So it's an additional $7 or $8 million that's outside of what's in that 253. Would that be a safe assumption there, or are there
the
places
amount,
where
sir?
there's double counting that I'm doing in
Yeah.
that?
What was the amount you came up with? Sorry.
261. So I added up the 1.6, the 4.9, the 1.1 on the Home Again, and then the Good Neighbor program. If I did that and I put that with the 253, would that be a safe assumption to make?
You did math, that sounds right, yeah. I trust your numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, more than trust your numbers, that is the right assumption to make. And keep in mind, because we are MTW, and I believe Commissioner Hooker spoke to this on Monday, because we are MTW, we have the flexibility to move beyond what a traditional housing authority would actually invest in, which is rental assistance. So the work that we do with our residents, the youth programs, as well as even the emergency assistance program that we provide are over and beyond the $253 million that we're investing in either tenant-based vouchers or home flex vouchers.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a comment to represent for the broader public and the team here today that on Monday during Finance and Audit Committee, we only had 3 commissioners, myself, our chair, Commissioner Stewart, and Commissioner Hooker, and wanted to pass on the committee's appreciation for representing the impact of the agency. And it was very eloquently stated by you a few minutes ago. I'm not offended at all, very appreciative. Very appreciative, and it's great to highlight that. One small adjustment, because I know we gave this feedback, which was to clarify what's a subset. I think you guys have done a great job of putting the asterisks there. The only thing I would suggest in the interest of communicating what this budget represents, both in terms of impact and putting people first through various programs and tools that AH deploys, is to have 2 representations. So this graphic is great, but I think trying to add where it's plus 1 million, plus 100% makes it pretty busy. So I would recommend, this is just one commissioner's perspective, the version you guys had presented the last time was pretty clean. If there's a slide that you can add to this, which is a bulleted list, and there the increases are clearly included, I think that can help become also a great insert for a press release, right? Which is, this page represents the highlights, and a bulleted list version of this page can give a little bit more context on where we have added funds and by how much. and kind of declutter the slide back so that it's something that is shareable, digestible on a snapshot on multiple platforms, whether it's social media or presentations that people want to go through or the book that people want to go through. But terrific job clarifying the impact, but also an attempt to make clear where we are investing. I mean, for example, Home Again. We have doubled the investment there, right? That's my way of reading it. The Haven Home Flex program has gone up by $1 million, and those representations, I think, can be made in a bulleted format so that we leave the slide as kind of what the investment is, if that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, great ad, and we will work to make sure we have that additional information as an insert with the press release that will go out today.
Yeah, so you a great point. Places where we can highlight what's new, right? Like Good Neighbor program is new. So in communicating, and that's correct, right, for this year. So
I'm sorry,
No,
so which
Good Neighborhood
program
is
did you
not.
mention?
it's not new? Or
No.
we increased funding, or is it the same funding we've always had?
For the Home Again program, we increased funding, but it's not new.
No, I'm talking about Good Neighbor.
The Good Neighbor
Good
program
Neighbor.
is not new as well.
No.
Okay, all right, so I'm wrong.
Yeah, you approved
It's fine.
an extended contract.
Extended that's it, okay, all right, cool. I'm gonna
Right.
just shut up then, and I'm gonna leave it as it was, but thank you for
No, sir, please don't.
the additive components that were there. And I appreciate adding in, because I didn't even recognize the 1 million and the 100%, so I'm glad, thank you for adding
Okay,
that
yeah,
from Monday.
okay.
It does help kind of understand where we are making expansion of what we're doing, so.
Okay. No excuses, but we thought about doing exactly what you said, showing all the increases in dollars. Some of the programs, because of capacity or because we got savings, the amount we're spending is actually going down. So we'll go ahead and provide the bulleted list, and we'll decide if it adds value or not. Okay.
But Ken, just to clarify, if you do that, I would go back to the old version and not represent the pluses in the graphic. It just makes it hard to digest. If you'll have that bulleted list, you can add more context on increase and anything else you want to
Okay.
say, right?
right.
Including if it's a new program or a new investment.
I just want to be honest. Okay. All right. Any other comments on this slide? Okay. Next slide. Okay. The FY24 budget, which begins on July 1st, which is right around the corner, was developed based on the AHA strategic plan, the MTW 2024 annual plan, both of which were approved by this board. The budget also was developed in concert with development of department goals and objectives which support those two documents. The total budget is $452.1 million, which with uses being fully supported by $383.4 million in current year funds and $68.6 million in prior year funds, which were earned in previous years, were excess to requirements, and were reserved for future development use. There's also $5.3 million of sources that come from particularly development-related revenue that we do not know when it's going to be received, and there may be restrictions. And so we are putting that in the reserve to move forward to future years. The slide right here demonstrates that over 85.5% of AHA's sources in FY24 are housing choice. When you add the housing choice in the big blue and the little one at about 4 o'clock, which is the prior year housing choice funds. And so it's very important to us. MTW single fund, which also includes our public housing and our capital funds program, make up 81.8%. And overall, when we include everything that's directly funded by HUD, HUD provides 97.5% of all of our funding. Okay. Let's see, I've already talked about that. Okay. If the funds that we have identified here are not drawn and used in FY24, every dollar that's identified there remains available for future use. In 2016, Congress passed an Appropriations Act that said that these funds for MTW agencies are basically safe from recapture, so Congress would have to change the law in order to take our money. Okay, the public operating subsidy, which is up in the upper right-hand corner, is $10 million, and that's part of the single fund, and it's based on our AH-owned and mixed properties. That will go down in the future as we convert under RAD. The $27.5 million in capital funds is the third component of the MTW single fund, and it's part of a $69 million in grant awards for capital fund programs that we've accumulated over the years, and we are now drawing down. This is not an award that we're getting from HUD in '24. These are prior year capital fund awards. Program income is a revenue derived from the use of federal funds. AA expects to use $14.5 million in program income from prior years and earn $4.2 in new program income from development-related revenues and loan repayments. And as I mentioned, some of these have restrictions, and so all of these will be rolled forward as part of the reserve. Any questions on the sources of funds? Okay. Okay, moving on to the uses of funds. Next slide. Okay. Budget is still 452.1, and you can see that we are providing 60%, starting with tenant-based vouchers, home flex, mixed communities, AH-owned communities. 60% of the budget directly provides for housing. Okay. The 8% for AH-owned communities and properties includes $19.2 million for operations and maintenance, including $11.1 million at AH-owned communities and $5.2 at AH communities headquarters and other properties. $2.6 million for maintenance and other expenses on AH vacant land, including fencing, mowing, graffiti control, and trash removal, and $300,000 for pilot. I want to stress that we are taking care of our vacant land much better than we have in the past. This is the largest budget I've seen for that purpose, and responding to concerns of the citizens and the governments. Okay, it also includes $15.4 million for capital improvements, with $10.3 million of those at AH-owned communities. 8.7 million of that amount completes projects that were approved in '23, but because of supply chain and other challenges, including asbestos and other things, were delayed and moved into '24. The balance will be spent at AH headquarters, Zell Miller, Roosevelt Hall, and investments in technology and electronic vehicles. There is $1.9 million in human development service contracts that we addressed in the infographic earlier. The 13% for department operations includes our direct operating divisions, which manage our housing choice voucher, our home flex, our mixed AHL programs, development, constructions, and facilities. These are the folks who, I say, where the rubber meets the road. They're the one out there dealing with our participants and our tenants and dealing with our construction. And it also includes $38 million for the corporate support departments, which include Executive Office, Office of General Counsel, Finance, IT, Contracts and Procurement, Human Relations, and so on, that support the other departments. Development, finally, at the top, including Choice Neighborhoods, is allocated a total of $112.8 million, or 25% of the budget, and I'm going to address that shortly. Okay. Any questions on the uses? Okay, next slide. We were asked to demonstrate how the funding we provide over the years has changed and how the number of households changed as well. The total spent will go up through the '24 budget from 2019 by 43%, but the number of households served only goes up by 6%. And to me, that's not the math I want to see, but unfortunately, it's a result of lack of affordable housing in the city of Atlanta and the competition for those units, which drive up rents, restrict the abilities of voucher holders to locate homes that meet their requirements while staying within payment standards. And you notice the dip in households in '23. Actually, it begins earlier than that. That's tied to the pandemic. The pandemic had several effects, which froze our ability to lease up new units. Not only were people confined to their homes for part of it, but also foreclosures were frozen. And so units that would normally become open and available for our participants did not do so because the previous tenant did not have to move out. And you notice we see that we're going to pick back up in '24. Okay. Any questions on this slide? Okay. Taking a look at our housing programs a little different way, what we've got is we're going to allocate $253.2 million toward providing housing through one of our programs. Housing Choice will increase the net number of vouchers paid by 395 to 10,562. Now, that number, 395, may not seem impressive, but there's a lot of work to go into that because it includes 1,115 new voucher holders. Okay? Unfortunately, we got 780 voucher holders that will be attrited from our program for one of the various reasons. These 1,115 voucher holders, in fact, result from interaction from tens of thousands of applicants. Recently, we pulled 4,000 families from the wait list, and only 318 were approved. And some leased up, and some are still looking for housing. So it is a long, hard road to get someone into the program and then leased up as a participant. You notice in the Home Flex, we have 148 new units located at 10 new properties, which you as a board approved in recent months to authorize funding. Okay. Altogether, there's over 10,500 tenant-based vouchers, 8,400 Home Flex project vouchers, 1,400 mixed community units, 857 age-owned units, totaling a total of 21,400 units available for our participants. Okay, the budget funds, okay, now I'm on to the next slide. Nope. All right, the budget, I'm sorry, stay right here. The budget funds 1,473 new units, which are scheduled to close in 2024, and that's the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, this slide demonstrates how the budget supports AH Strategic Goal 1, create or preserve 10,000 housing units. As shown, the FY24 budget supports the creation of 1,881 new units and the preservation of 1,445 units, including home ownership. For this slide, we used the number of units, we used closings, financial closings, as the measure of number of units. In addition to the units that we're identifying, the budget also funds units or properties that were approved in prior fiscal years, but we're still paying towards. So they're not included in a new closing. And likewise, we're providing pre-development funds for properties that will come online and be closed in future years. Okay, the budget funds, yeah, there we go. There we go. Now I found my place. Please go back to the last slide. I'm sorry. All right. What's really important here is the right side of each one of the bands. And this shows the income level, the income level of our participants. And you notice that the four of them prove out that 96% of our age households are extremely or very low income. The only exception to that is DPA, and that makes sense. If we're going to give down payment assistance to a family or to a household, we expect them to have the income level in order to make the payments. Now, there are some that are below the 50% level, but because of either a lender or because of the situation and money they can bring to the deal, they also are approved into the program. I apologize for missing that. Next one. Okay. Any questions on that one? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. This slide shows the impact of the 24 budget on our balances of cash and investments that we have and expect to have by Saturday. And for those of you who have not seen this before, the left-hand side identifies the various funds. Okay, the top are those that are held at HUD, whether they be grant funds or the money that HUD is holding for us in our reserves. The lower level are those funds that are held locally. The next column identifies what we expect to have there as of Saturday. We then add in what's coming in subtract what's going out, and we have our estimated available balance at the end of the year. All told, we expect our fund balance, if we do fully execute the budget, to go down by 82.3%, $82.3 million. Now, what's the takeaway on this? Takeaway is we cannot continue to do this without external funding, whether it be the city or philanthropy or some other source, because the numbers are finite, and HUD cannot always be counted on to increase our funding every year as they did in '23. Any questions on this one? No?
I just have a comment for the fellow commissioners who weren't there on Monday. We did talk about projecting out over a 5-year period, since we have a 5-year strategic plan, what this would look like and what that means in terms of the sources of funds that AH is going to need to deliver on the plan, which have to come from beyond this existing set of streams of sources. So that is something that we have asked the team to go look at and come back to the committee with.
Okay.
I think my only question or comment, or perhaps it was discussed in committee, is that, we have a fiduciary responsibility not to sit on too much money, right? Our job is to get it out and get it working for Atlantans. And yet we also have the fiduciary responsibility of making sure we have appropriate reserves and so forth. And I think at some point we'd had some discussion about if we have any policy of what is too much or too little, and if that's something that staff has discussed, or that as a board, that we should at least have some guidelines of, we're getting outside of the lanes either on either side of that. And I, not for this budget approval, but would just ask that we think about that as we prepare the budget for next year.
Right.
Actually, on that point, if I may, it would be helpful to agree on what that policy is well in advance of the budget process next year. So it may be something that we can do in the next couple of quarters to consider what that might look like, so that when you actually go into the budget process, the finance team has clarity about how we're sort of straddling that, and whether it's a policy that's going to work for us.
Okay. All right, next slide. This slide addresses AH personnel, and Maria's not here today, so I'm gonna go take the lead on this. The right-hand side of the slide provides the FY23 versus 24 funding by department. And the FY24 budget includes an increase of 12 full-time equivalents over current authorizations, and increases our intern count by only 1 to 28, and this includes, the 28 includes our summer interns. The left side provides the 12 new positions that are included in the budget. Now, at one of the meetings, somebody asked about our vacancies, and we are actually filling 18 of the positions that are vacant right now with temporaries that we truly expect to elect to apply for the position. And so we're moving to keep things rolling, and we'll have fully occupied positions as quickly as possible. Okay. Any questions on personnel? Okay. That includes my presentation. What are your questions?
So I don't have any questions about that. I will make I know that yesterday Maria said that the temporary number was, I think, 24. I think she corrected what was here. Yeah. So just a note for people if that matters.
Yeah, we didn't change that.
Only other thing I would just comment on is I think as we've gone through this, everyone has given, I think, the accolades. I certainly expect and hope that the work that we've done this year wins us another, distinguished board presentation accommodation that we got last year. So for the public, the work that's done here has been recognized in the past, and we hope that it will continue to be recognized. And then lastly, just a note that the work that we're doing on the creation and preservation, which is certainly in alignment with the mayor's goal for his term or future terms of 20,000 units. This keeps us ahead of pace And so we're hoping that as we execute against it, that we are in alignment. And so I'm excited to see what we do with this. So with that, I don't know if there are any other comments or questions from anyone? All right.
Thank you.
If there are none of those, then I think it's time to call for the vote. All in favor of this resolution indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed indicate by saying nay. And any abstentions? All right, this motion is carried, and we have a budget.
Mr. Chair, it is recommended that the Board of Commissioners move to close this portion of the regular meeting to convene into an executive session to discuss certain privileged matters pursuant to Georgia Code Section 50-14-3B1. It is estimated that the executive session may last approximately 45 minutes. At the conclusion of the executive session, the board will reconvene into regular session.
All right, may I have a motion to close this portion of the regular meeting so that the board may convene into executive session to discuss certain privileged matters? May I have a second?
Second?
All right, I think we are, motion was moved by Commissioner Elliott and seconded by Commissioner Kirsch. Is there any discussion by the board to temporarily close this portion of the regular meeting and to convene into executive session? All right, if not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Time is 3:01.
I know. Time goes so fast, so fast. You can hardly believe it, hardly believe it. Now that you're far on the other side of this recording, I know you will be surprised with your about to hear.
May I have a motion to, oh, no, not.
Come on, Mr. Chairman, you can do this.
May I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, we already got. We have concluded our discussion in executive session and are reconvening into regular session. No actions were taken in executive session. I call the regular session back to order. I take note that the in-person quorum of this board is still present, and the reconvening time is 4:06 p.m. Is there a report from the president and CEO? Answer to that is yes, so take it away, Gene.
Good afternoon, Board of Commissioners. I want to share this 20-minute video. I'm just teasing. But as you know, we're approaching the end of the National Homeownership Month. And AH is strategically leveraging partnerships to help us continue our efforts to provide homeownership opportunities to those in need. As you know, we are proud to lend a hand up as we provide financial assistance through our down payment assistance program to those who want to pursue their American dream. I've said this all along, it seems like we focus on rental, but we don't focus on home ownership more. And we gotta, that's where we build equity. And we wanna make sure that we get people in that direction. And our down payment assistance program is far better than anything across the country, as I've seen. This campaign informs our audience about the ways that we are opening doors to a variety of opportunities for our residents and others in need. Today, I'd like to share with you this first 2-minute video episode of our campaign series, which features our in-house homeownership expert, Pat Evans, and DPA recipient, Brian Grady. I'd like to thank LaConya and her team for putting this together, but I also want to give thanks to Alex. He managed this, and I think you're going to be just in awe about this.
At Atlanta Housing, we believe in creating homeownership opportunities. Since 2005, we have invested more than $35 million in down payment assistance to serve more than 1,600 low to moderate income first-time home buyers. We help families to cross over from renting to building generational wealth. This is just another way Atlanta Housing provides affordable housing. Atlanta Housing, opening doors to the American dream.
I was born and raised in Duluth, Georgia. I was born in Gwinnett County. And during my time growing up in the suburbs, it was always a great opportunity, but I wanted more for myself. And so going to Georgia State University was the first time that I actually envisioned seeing myself in Atlanta and who I could really truly be. So at age 25, I decided that I wanted to become a homeowner because not only was I seeing how the rent prices were going up around Atlanta, but I wanted to make sure that I had sustainability and affordability for myself. So at that time, I took the initiative to take the classes, to help build my credit, to be informed on all of the things that I would need to be a successful home buyer. Atlanta Housing made my dreams possible. Atlanta Housing gave me the confidence to know that I deserve home ownership, and I deserve prosperity in Atlanta just like everyone else. I'm forever thankful for the opportunity. This was not a handout, but a hand up for me to continue to elevate and to give back as much as possible. So thank you to Atlanta Housing. Atlanta Housing opened doors for me.
So to the board, this is all on our social media and our Instagram, on all of our accounts. I think we touch about 200,000 people in this great city, and so we have another series that we're going to keep promoting to promote home ownership, even after the month of home ownership. And thank you, commissioners.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you, Gene. Are there any comments by any of the commissioners?
I just wanted to say, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I went to Roosevelt Hall, about 2 weeks ago, and I was just, as a product of Morehouse College and Clark Atlanta University, having spent many of my formative years in that part of the community, and just seeing what was being offered by Atlanta Housing, it just warmed my heart to know that we can offer something so phenomenal, so amazing to the community, that it is, I don't want to call it an oasis because I don't want to make it seem small. I think it's the start of creating a much larger oasis for the community overall. So I just want to thank you for your leadership, everyone who played a role in that. I think it's an example of how we invest in community and how the communities are always first in our minds and in the work that we do. So I just applaud you and I appreciate it, and I definitely plan on making use of it when readily available.
Thank you. We have a new eloquent commissioner. I just wanted to say one thing as a point of personal, taking a personal moment to do that. But I guess not really, because it's really for the staff. Today is a pretty big Muslim holiday. It is Eid today, so I wanted to wish anybody who celebrates at Atlanta Housing Eid Mubarak.
Not enough. I just wanted to make a comment about the portion that we were talking about, a part of putting people first for Atlanta Housing. I don't know how, as a resident commissioner, let me say this to you all. It is so important that, and I'm thankful that you all put on that Juneteenth event for the residents. It's so much I want to say, but I'm not going to take all your time. I know everybody want to go, but that there are people that live at these properties that don't get to see other people like they should. They go day to day and don't get touched. I used to wonder why my pastor would say, get up and hug 15 people. And I asked him when maybe it was 20, 25, I asked him, why do you do that? And I don't want to touch you, I don't want to hug everybody. He said, hug 15 people. But he said it because humans need to be touched. And I'm saying all that to say is that when we put people first, and you all did that, it's so important. You all just don't know how important that is for people to get out. Some of them forcibly, but a lot of them because they have to, they want to do it, but a lot of them, don't want to do it, but they realize that by going to these kind of events that you all put on, how important it is for their life, for that day, to be happy for that day, to be able to talk to other people, and basically all of us in the same boat. And thank you all.
Awesome. All right. Well, anyone else before I close us out? All right. So I will just make two comments. So one, again, I know we've said it, but it can't be understated. Thank you for all the hard work on getting this budget and making it easy for us to approve it. So definitely want to just say thank you to the entire team and staff for all the hard work put into that effort. Also, I will just echo what Commissioner Alvarado said relative to Roosevelt Hall. I was able to be there. It is a really, really beautiful property. It's a beautiful building. It was important to, like I said, I've spent a lot of time driving past that building and saying, wow, this is, and I think I said it in my comments, but it felt like a waste. Like there was something more here. And then to hear some of the stories of Commissioner Elliott, and so I want to just, I think the most important part of this is say thank you to Ernestine Gary. She is such a treasure. I know Jean mentioned that in the comments as we were opening the place, but she is a treasure, and I want to make sure that she gets all the flowers while she's still here as she continues to grow that not only that particular building, but the footprint of that entire area. And so thank you for everyone's effort there, and we hope that the Choice Neighborhood work that we're doing there will just be replicated in what we do hopefully at Bowen. So with that said, I think we are at the time to adjourn. So if there's no further business of this board, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? All right, may I have a second? All right, so moved by Commissioner Faruqi and seconded by Commissioner Alvarado. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the meeting is adjourned. Time 4:16.